everyone. My name is Ladislav Cabada. I'm a member of the executive committee of ECPR. I'm head of the event subcommittee, and I also have a honor to chair the Political Theory Prize jury, not only for the year 2024, but straight since the year 2022. It's my big pleasure to introduce firstly the Political Theory Prize itself, the jury composition, and also the process of selection. And last but not least, at the end, to introduce the winner of our 2024 annual competition. So let me start firstly with the reason. So the Political Theory Prize is one of the youngest prizes at ECPR. It focuses specifically on political philosophy and political theory books published in English language. One of the preconditions is that this is the first published work or first published book by the respective author. And for the year 2024, the jury comprised from five regular members. Let me introduce them briefly. It was Diana Popescu, the respected colleague from the University of Nottingham, then Verena Erlenbusch-Andersson from the Syracuse University. It was Avia Pasternak from the University of Toronto, Zachary Vereb, University of Mississippi, and last but not least, Nachshon Perez from the Bar Ilan University. I acted as the non-voting chair, so my work is primarily administrative within the jury. We have had 5 books nominated by the different nominees, and we organized our work in 2 rounds. So in the first round, each member of our jury evaluated 2 selected books. We changed our opinions and shortlisted 3 books. And then we organized, I would say, very comprehensive insight. So every member of the jury went through all 3 shortlisted books, and we have had very fruitful discussion about the pros and cons regarding these 3 shortlisted books. So, and it's my pleasure to finish my introductory word, stressing that the jury recommended and selected the winner, and 2024 winner is Dr. Tejas Parasher from the University of California, Los Angeles, with his book Radical Democracy in Modern Indian Political Thought. And further, he will be introduced, and also the reasons the nominees brought to the nomination. Last but not least, I would like to stress that it was really very hard competition, so that also the jury decided to recommend a special honorable mention for the runner-up, and it was Dr. Jamie Draper from the Utrecht University in Netherlands with his book on climate displacement. So this would be from my side, and I give the floor specifically to my colleagues Duncan Kelly and Inder Marwach to introduce the book and to introduce Tejas Parasher as the winner.
So thank you all very much. It is such a pleasure to be here and to have the chance to, to celebrate this well-deserved recognition of Tejas's marvelous book. I have been fortunate to know Tejas in a few guises over the years. Funnily enough, we initially met when he was an undergraduate student in the very first course that I taught at the University of Toronto as a freshly minted PhD. This was, of course, more years ago than I'd care to recall. Even at that point, Tejas stood out as a singularly brilliant person whose capacities were only matched by his unceasing inquisitiveness. In the intervening years, we remained in touch, which has provided me with a wonderful opportunity to keep learning from his scholarship. And in that time, it's been a great pleasure to have him shift from being a student to being a colleague and a friend. I wanted to nominate Tejas's book for this prize for the simple reason that it's among the most accomplished pieces of South Asian intellectual history that I've had the pleasure to read in recent years. Tejas's reconstruction of the federalist and radical democratic alternatives to parliamentary politics in 20th century India illuminates an under-recognized strand of political thought running against the period's better-known nationalisms. In so doing, he recovers the breadth and the richness of the anti-colonial imaginary, which envisioned self-governing India in much more diverse and novel ways than is often appreciated. This is a piece of scholarship that strikes that rare and challenging balance between meticulous fidelity to historical detail, finely tuned argument, and wonderfully lucid presentation. The end result is a book from which political theorists, historians, and scholars of anti-colonialism have a great deal to learn. As a leading international academic society in political science, the ECPR seeks to recognize pioneering research and to offer it exposure within its membership and more broadly. Radical democracy in modern Indian political thought is unquestioningly deserving of this acknowledgement and of the wide readership that I can only hope that it will entail. My sincere congratulations to Tejas once again on this wonderful accomplishment.
Thank you. My name is Duncan Kelly from University of Cambridge, where I'm Professor of Political Thought and Intellectual History, and it's at Cambridge where I got to know Tejas when he came as a junior research fellow at King's. And I first saw him in action, as it were, when he delivered a brilliant seminar paper, which became one of the chapters of the book, but which also became an article in Modern Intellectual History, where I'm one of the co-editors, and it was a pleasure to be able to be involved in the editing of that particular article, which was on federalism, representation, and direct democracy in 1920s India. And from reading that and discussing with Tejas and then seeing the book develop, as Inda has said, I think into a sort of compelling mixture of the historical and the normative, the archival and the contemporary. It's been wonderful to see someone develop their work in such a way as to talk to serious intellectual historians in the South Asian world and to serious political theorists trying to make sense of some of the challenges, both historical and contemporary, around democratic theory. And whether it's in dealing with well-known thinkers such as Nehruji and Gandhi in his book, or some lesser known, although presumably not now, that Tejas has uncovered them for a new audience, people like Radha Kamal Mukherjee talking about democracies of the East in the early 1920s. I think the mixture, as I said earlier, of the historical reconstruction of diverse federalist traditions, and in particular their ancient lineage in Indian culture and political thinking, and then their resonance for thinking about the legacy of federal criticisms of the contemporary nation state in its continued and seemingly permanent era of crisis, is a work of immense erudition and also analytical perspicuity, really. And so I was really pleased to be able to read it, to talk with Tejas a little bit about it as it developed, and to see it come to fruition in the brilliant CUP series, Ideas in Context. So it was a pleasure and a privilege, and I'm delighted that it won the prize.
Thank you so much, Inder and Duncan. Those are incredibly kind and comments, and just I'm so honored. I just want to thank both of you for the nomination. I also want to thank everyone at the ECPR, Ladislav, and all the members of the jury for this very kind consideration. To Jess for putting everything together and doing all the organizing. This is a very prestigious prize, and I'm incredibly honored. And I do hope that this prize sets precedent for more interest in non-European traditions of thinking and political thought, more interest for that topic within political theory and the history of political thought. So thank you so much. I thought I'd just say two very quick things about the genesis of the project and sort of what I see as its relationship to political thought more generally. So as both Inder and Duncan mentioned, this really is a kind of revisionist narrative of anti-colonial nationalism, and it actually has its origins in some archival material that I encountered quite unexpectedly. So I'd gone in expecting to do a project on the franchise, so debates around the franchise in the British Empire. As part of the archival work I was doing for it, I came across the papers of a Gandhian political thinker who was making these very sophisticated critiques of parliamentary democracy. So I had this about face where I realized that much more interesting than theories of electoral democracy in interwar India were actually the critiques of electoral democracy in interwar India. So I kind of switched the project at that point upon realizing that this archive that I was looking at is much wider than I had initially known or anticipated. So the project grew as an attempt to fill out what I thought was an incomplete story, both of South Asian political thought, but more generally of anti-colonial nationalism. And then more generally, I see both this project and my ongoing work really fitting into debates and considerations of representation, of the problem of political representation within the history of political thought and within democratic theory. So my model really has been, since graduate school, Bernard Manant's Principles of Representative Government, really trying to think about what representative government means, the different ways that it has been justified, the different kinds of institutional mechanisms through which political representation can be actualized. And more specifically, this work, I think, is interested in the relationship between philosophies of history and political representation. So the ways that different conceptions of world history, of progress, are used to justify certain political forms of political representation and to critique others, and the ways that certain radical democratic theories of representation emerged out of an alternate philosophy of history or a critique of certain narratives about history and historiography. That's the topic I'm interested in more recent work that I've been doing, building from this book. I'm interested in the link between imperial parliamentarism in the British Empire and similar kinds of philosophies of history, the ways that representation, again, could be seen as a form of modernization and could be linked to certain conceptions of historical progress. So this book really, I think, tries to use the South Asian case to get political theorists to think more deeply about the link between historiography and representative government. So I think that's all I'll say. And again, it's an enormous pleasure and privilege for me to be here. And I want to thank everyone for this very prestigious recognition.
Thank you. So first of all, I would like to thank to Inder Marwach and Duncan Kelly for their cooperation and for their decision to nominate Tejas for this prize. And I have to stress that I'm really very happy that we do have such excellent candidate. Tejas, my congratulations again. And also in the name of the jury, I have to stress that at both our meetings, you were reflected as an excellent scholar, and the outcome that you provided as an excellent input. And also the book that moves the political philosophy and political theory as subdiscipline strongly forward. So congratulations from my side, and really all the best also to your next scientific career.